Hi. So I'm a last-minute fill-in from Dan from Zopa, I think, couldn't make it. So thanks, Dan. I'm here. I signed up to speak yesterday, so we'll see how this goes. This is a talk I have done before, but not for a little while. So we're going to see how it goes. Let's start. Who am I? So, my name is Paula Kennedy. I work for a company called Syntasso, and our mission is to help platform teams thrive. So it's exciting to have somebody from Jaguar Land Rover platform team here and other platform teams. If you want to talk about how we do it, please come talk to me. We make a framework called Kratix, which is open source. So it's really designed to help platform teams build better platforms and really developer-centric platforms. So I'm not going to talk too much about Kratix, but if you want to come and speak to me afterwards, please do. I also have some stickers, which is always very exciting. So come and ask me and we can have some stickers. So what am I talking about? I'm going to talk a lot about platform engineering. I'm going to start off talking about what a platform is. Then I'm going to try and dive a bit deeper than just definitions and try and get into what really a platform is. I'm going to try and give some suggestions about what good looks like based on my experience, and talk about some boundaries for where the platform sits and teams within an organization who should take care of what. So let's start with, what is a platform? This is my favorite definition about platforms, and I quote it quite a lot. If you've seen me talking at other events, I feel like I talk quite a lot, but if you've seen me at other events, I quote this quite often. It's a definition from Evan Bottcher, 2018. And Evan said, a digital platform is a foundation of self-service APIs, tools, services, knowledge, and support, arranged as a compelling internal product. Autonomous delivery teams can make use of the platform to deliver product features at a higher pace with reduced coordination. I'm glad I could read that because I didn't bring my glasses. That's a lot of words. So I tried to find a simpler definition. And I found this one from Gartner, which basically says all a platform is something that serves or enables other products or services. Right? That's quite a nice, simple definition. But honestly, definitions are a bit boring. Right? I feel like they're just a lot of words. The fun stuff comes in when we actually try to build platforms. So, what really is a platform? In my talk abstract, if anyone had a look at the abstract that got put up, I said I wouldn't say it depends, because that's like a super classic consultancy answer that's a bit boring. But actually, it depends. So what really is a platform? It depends on lots of things within your organization. It can depend on how big your organization is, what your tech stack looks like, how much legacy software you're dealing with. It can depend on the skill set of the teams that you've got within the organization. There's lots and lots of things that the platform can depend on. One of my good friends, Sasha Rosenbaum, actually was quoted last week, and what she said in an article, the link is below, but what she said was, if you're running software in production, you're running it on top of a platform. The platform could be basically made up of anything, right? But it can either be intentionally designed or basically a big ball of mud. But if it is intentionally designed, basically the better you have planned out your platform, the better the experience for your teams using the platform, but also for the business overall. Now, I've been in the platform space for a long time. I didn't really give you my CV because I didn't really want to show how old I am. But I've been in this space, let's say, at least the last 10 years in platform engineering. And I've worked with lots of different platform teams. So I've started my own company in 2012, focusing on Cloud Foundry, to working with Pivotal and then VMware and then back into startup life again. So I've worked with lots of different teams and I've seen lots of different patterns. What I don't really want to get into right now is the tech stack of what your platform is built up of. It's really more about what are patterns when you're using any kind of platform. What does good look like? What are some suggestions for what good could look like? So here's a few patterns that I've observed, right? Pattern number one, using a ticket system for teams to interact with the platform team. Now, I'm not Jira bashing, honestly. Jira is just one I've picked on. But a common pattern is you have a platform team, and the way that they fulfill any requests from people using the platform is a ticket system. Now that has good and bad things, right? It's good because if you're using something like Jira, you can customize your workflow. You can put in front of developers just the fields they need to complete. And then as a platform team, you can receive that request and you know what you've got to do. Downside is typically the requests come in, and then when you have to fulfill them, it can be quite slow, quite manual, some errors, so not ideal. And if the developers are waiting a long time, they might go to shadow IT and find a different way to fulfill their request. Another pattern that we've seen is just give the development teams access straight up to the cloud provider, right? In some ways that's great because developers can get self-service access to the services that they want. They can get started straight away. It's available on demand. But there are some downsides too, right? If you're using a cloud provider as your internal platform, it's not really customized for your organization. You get what you're given. And you don't get necessarily all the things that you need. And if you just let teams have a free-for-all, who knows how much they're going to spend, right? You have to be keeping an eye on that. And another pattern, so Mike mentioned Kubernetes. I'm a big fan of Kubernetes, but it has some challenges as well. So Kubernetes has a very lovely, clean, consistent API, massive ecosystem, right? If you've got a problem, if you're stuck, there's loads of people you can ask for support from. But it was never really designed to be given straight to developers to have at, to be honest. It's a starting point. It's kind of a place for building platforms on top of. And if you give it straight to developers, you're pretty much asking them to build their own platform, right? They have to navigate their way through that massive CNCF landscape. I didn't put that slide up, that's a classic, with all the thousands of projects in the CNCF landscape. But if you give developers straight up access to Kubernetes without any kind of platform or curation, you're asking them to do a lot. And what you might find if you've got multiple teams, then multiple teams are solving the same problem and you've got a lot of duplication in your organization. So these are some of the patterns. It's funny, I gave this talk, I had this conversation with Jen Riggins, who's a journalist with the Newsstack. And when I talked to her about it, she said I looked like I was doing the Vogue, because when I was trying to describe a platform, I was like, well, it starts somewhere between apps and infrastructure, and it can go as high as you might want it, or as low level as you want it, and it can be as broad or as narrow. So I was kind of doing all of these diagrams, but really what I was trying to describe is like the boundaries of your platform are context specific. One thing I've learned in my last few years of doing platform engineering is only you can build your platform, right? Saying it depends is not an answer, is true, but actually what you are aiming for with your platform is to have the platform that meets your organizational needs. Some things that are good in a platform are some of these positives that we pulled out from these patterns, right? It's good if it's customized for your organization. It's good if you're offering services to teams that are on demand and self-service. And it's good if you've got a nice, clean, consistent API that teams can self-serve, get access to, they understand what the fields are they've got to complete or how they're going to access it, and they can get the services they need when they need them. So those are a few things that I would recommend look good for a platform, regardless what your platform is built on. What else could you consider when you're building a platform or running a platform? One thing I talk about a lot is platform as a product, which in its simplest term just means applying product management principles to your internal platform. I've put the build, measure, learn loop up just because this is what we think about. If you're building a platform, the thing you don't want to have happen is you build it and you think developers will come in the kind of field of dreams mode, and you build it and then no one comes. So in an ideal world, what you're doing when you're thinking about your internal platform is you're building something, you're talking to the people using your platform, you're getting feedback, you're learning, and you go around that loop as fast as you can. And that's really what we talk about when we say platform as a product. And I can talk about that for hours, a bit like Mike talking about DevOps. I could talk about platform as a product forever. So I'll move along. Another thing that I've seen work really, really well is trying to do a value stream map exercise between the platform team and the team that's using your platform. So literally getting two teams together or more, and then mapping out on a board what's the process to go from having an idea to deploying it in production? What are the steps? How long does each step take? And trying to understand and build empathy between the two teams to understand where can time be reduced. Also, are there any steps that can be eliminated? The best exercise I saw once was when a platform team mapped out all the steps, and then a product team came and said, oh, we don't care about this one, or that one, or that one. And it was amazing how just by getting that process in place, we were able to start eliminating some of the process. Another thing I've seen done quite well is where a platform team can articulate its mission. So I tried to Google what does a good mission statement look like. And I found this one from American Express that I quite liked, which is basically about American Express wants to be essential to their customers by providing differentiated products and services to help them achieve their aspirations. The thing I like about this one is it's quite customer-centric. So they're literally talking about how they want to enable their customers, which I think is a really good mindset for platform teams to have. Right? You're not building the platform just for it to sit on the shelf. You're not using it, you're not building it just for, I don't know, fun. You're building it because you want people to use it. So having a good mission statement, articulating what your mission statement is, so that everyone on the platform team is going in the same direction, and also so that other teams understand what the platform team is trying to achieve, so that you've got a shared understanding, shared empathy. Okay, so I've talked a bit about what I think a platform really is, and I've talked a bit about what I think good looks like, or good patterns could look like for a platform. The last part I want to talk about are boundaries. Now, when I think about team boundaries and kind of organization boundaries, this is kind of my go-to. Who's read this book? Oh, not very many. Okay. So, Team Topologies is a book that came out 2018, I want to say. Matthew Skelton and Manuel Pace. I find like I recommend this all the time as well, but I recommend this book all the time. It's very, very good at articulating a way to think about the organization. And if you can get people in your organization to read it, like I've seen people do book clubs around this, but it's a way of kind of developing common vocabulary that makes conversations easier about team boundaries. Now, I'm not going to go into masses of detail because it's a whole book on its own and I couldn't do it justice, but I just want to call out a few things from the book. So, in the book, they talk about 4 team types and 3 interaction modes. Now, generally speaking, the ones I tend to focus on are the platform team and the stream-aligned team. You can think of a stream-aligned team as being a product team, but they try to focus on organizations where you have a stream, so everything that's involved to get something into production, that's where you kind of got the stream-aligned team. And they talk about interaction modes of being kind of collaboration, but driving towards X as a service. So basically, if you're the platform team, what you should be striving for is to be able to offer services or offer things that capabilities or things that teams need as a service so that they're available on demand. The other things that the book talks about, there's a few other key areas I want to pull out. Like I say, I'm not going to go into masses of detail because that would be a whole talk on its own. But things I want to pull out. So one thing is restricting team responsibilities to match cognitive load. So when we talk about cognitive load, we're talking about basically all the things you have to keep in your mind, all the things you have to think about. And if you've got too much cognitive load, it basically means you can't kind of get your job done. So one of the things the book talks about is trying to balance cognitive load and match the sort of the team responsibility to how much the team can handle, essentially. Because what we want to try to avoid is in the kind of classic DevOps, you build it, you run it. We've seen that that's ended up with teams having to do everything, right? Teams are being overloaded with having to do everything kind of from low-level constructs right up to like deploying software. And we've also seen, at least some of the conversations I've had, where stuff gets more and more shifted onto the platform team, and suddenly you've got a platform team that's overloaded with stuff, and they can't handle the responsibility, and everything's on them to solve. So Team Topologies is good at trying to, like I say, balance team work with team cognitive load. It also points out about defining team APIs. So this can be, basically the point of this is to just try to be clear on who owns what. Who owns the code, who owns the documentation, making sure that there's clear boundaries between who does what. So between your platform team and your application team, you can think about who's going to do which pieces of work. And then finally, it's about team interactions. Now, I get asked this a lot. You might have heard the whole DevOps is dead meme. I wasn't going to mention it, but here you go. I get asked a lot if platform engineering is encouraging us to go back to the world of dev and ops being siloed, right? And I would wholeheartedly say no. But the aim of DevOps, if you try and draw back to like what was DevOps trying to do in the first place, it was basically just trying to remove friction between dev and ops. And we've translated that into being, well, one team does everything. But another way to do this is actually to have reduced friction between the teams by having clear boundaries, clear responsibilities, but really good interaction between them. So in the Team Topologies book, they talk about you start off in an X as a service. You start off in a kind of collaboration mode and you move to X as a service, but that's not it. That's not the end game. There should be continuing lightweight collaboration because teams needs change, right? Platform, like technology will change. Teams need different things. Teams need to keep on interacting, keep on collaborating to make sure that it's clear that the platform that is being developed meets team needs. So, I have no idea how I was doing on time, but I'll carry on. Key takeaways. Your platform, whatever it's built with, whether it's Kubernetes or other, needs to fit your organization. Successful platform teams, there's lots of information kind of out there in like state of platform, state of DevOps reports, but successful platform teams typically are treating their platform as a product. They're building the right thing that their users actually need. And like I said, I strongly recommend team topologies as a way to think about how to organize your teams, how to balance cognitive load, and specifically like not overloading one team with too much responsibility. I put some links to some of the things I've quoted in my talk. And finally, I've got some shout outs for events as well. Oh, sorry, do you want to go back? Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, indeedy. If you like platform engineering and would like to hear more talks about platform engineering, I have a couple more things. So I run a user group. It's not as big as this, but I run a meetup group, which is the London Platform User Group. It's been on hiatus for some time, but it's back next week. So we've got 2 talks happening next week at the AccuX offices. So I think that's Shoreditch area. We've had a mention of this already, but I might as well say it again. I also co-organise DevOpsDays London. So that's happening soon. Shit, that's happening really soon. Look, don't mean to swear, sorry. That's happening really soon. It's very exciting. There's a discount code and it's happening 21st, 22nd at the QE2. And we've almost finished organising it, I promise. And finally, you'd think I don't have a day job. I also organise Kubernetes Community Days, which is happening at CodeNode in October. We have announced our keynote speakers. We haven't announced the rest yet, but that's coming soon, like tomorrow. And early bird tickets are now on sale. So, that's it. Thank you.